Elizabeth here with this week's episode of AnimeCons TV. In this week's episode, it's a follow-up to my episode a couple weeks ago where I talked about presser feet, and then this week I'm going to show you how to use a blind hem stitch foot. So that on this machine, which is my Singer Advance, looks like this. The plastic part on the side helps guide you, and you'll see that a little bit later on. So when you want to do a blind hem foot, the first step is to get your hem together first. You get your fabric together first. So I have this. I actually serged off the edge. This is a piece of scrap fabric. And the tricky part of this that I've always found is figuring out how to exactly fold the fabric. So what you want to do here is, this is the wrong side, this is the right side, and you want to create part of your fabric for the extra stitches to catch onto, because what a blind hem stitch does is it occasionally picks up a very tiny bit of the two fabrics together to, you know, connect them together with the thread, and then it puts other stitches on kind of the seam allowance excess. So you want to do, and I've already kind of done this, so, and ironed it so it's falling very easy into place, is you want to flip it over. So then all you see is the underside fabric. Okay? So it looks kind of funny at first, but this is how you want it to look. So you have this fold going here, and as you stitch, your extra stitches will get caught in your little seam allowance here where your surge stitches are. You can also use this with a double fold, but I find it easier to with the surge. Or you can do an overlock stitch on your machine, or you could probably just even pink it, just to make sure you have a little more fabric to work with there. I'm gonna pin this in place really quickly. Now, if you've never done a blind hem stitch on your machine before, you want to practice. Even if you're gonna do it for the first, you know, do it on your actual garment, maybe pull out a piece of scrap fabric of your costume fabric and test it first. That way you can play around with your needles, your tension, your feet, pretty much everything to make sure it looks really nice. So I'm going to swap out and put my foot in. Now I have mismatched threads here because I've been sewing some mock-ups. I'm going to keep these in because that'll make it easier for you to actually see the stitches once they're done. But when you're working on an actual garment, you want a thread that matches this perfectly. That way it blends in exactly. So I'm going to pull over my instructions here. This is right from my book. And it tells you which stitch to have. So there's two. This is for normal fabrics, and then by normal I mean, well, things that aren't stretchy. And these are for stretchy. So if you want to do a blind hem stitch with stretchy fabric, you want to use this one. Now this is for my machine. Your book for your machine will tell you which stitch to use for your blind hem foot. Now, what you want to do is you want to fold it once the fabric's folded and the right and the wrong side is up. You want to paste the fabric under the foot. So again, this is for my machine. Yours might be slightly different. And I want to make sure my needle is all the way to the left to start. There. So that's catching all the way to the left. I want that to start. So it should just barely pierce the fold of the fabric. And this is supposed to tuck under. I'm trying to get both going on. Here we go. So it's a little close, so what I'm going to do is this little wheelie thing pulls it away. There. And that's a guide. And it's not as far as I'd like. So I'm just going to mess with this until that just barely pierces the fabric. Move my hand. I'm actually going to get the camera in real close so you can see that a little better. Let's extreme close-up here, you can see it's very close to the edge of the fabric. I could probably even get it over just a teeny tiny bit more to the right, but that's what you're aiming for to start. So you want to have it so barely pick up that fold of the fabric. Now that my needle and my foot and my fabric and I think everything is all set to go in place, I'm gonna go with this. Wish me luck. Alright, I don't know if you can see this from there. Hopefully you can. But what's happening is what I described earlier, is the needle is going just down this side piece here, this little seam allowance, and then every few stitches it's going over and catching the fold, and that's what's creating the hem. And this guide is setting it up for the needle to catch it. So that's why that plastic guide is there. All right. Okay, so far so good. You can also do this by hand. I think I mentioned this earlier, but you can just stitch along this and then every so often pick up a little piece. Alright, home stretch. I missed that last one, that's okay. Alright, so you can see here, so that's the bobbin and then that's the regular thread. And you can see a little better from the bobbin edge. So what it did is it stitched along that, and every so often it picked up a little bit of the fold. You can see it here in the orange. I picked some really good threads for my mock-up. And so what you want it to look like from the other side is this. All you will see is every so often a little tick, a little thing of thread. I could have gotten even, I think maybe a little even closer with that. But not bad for a little test run to show you guys how this works. When you do this properly with the right thread, the thread that perfectly matches your fabric, this is very hard to see. I mean, if you get up there close and look up there, you'll be able to see it, but you know, look at a pair of dress pants and there's probably a good chance you can see that little tick of thread too, unless, like, you know, they're super expensive or something like that. But this is how you do a blind hem with a blind hem stitch. A blind hem stitch. This is how you do a blind hem stitch with a blind hem stitch foot on your machine. Now, all machines are different. As I said before in my last episode, some of them are different types of blind hem foots. I'm actually trying to see if I can find my brother one. So this is the brother foot. The only thing is that's not really that adjustable, but that's okay. You really want to practice this though. I can't stress enough. If you've never done this before, you don't want your first time doing this to be on your final garment of your costume. Grab some scrap fabric and take an hour of a day you got nothing else to do and test it out on your machine and see how it looks. Alright, I ironed it out so you can see that's what the final product will look like. Granted, it will most likely be an matching thread and not a slightly offset thread. But it wasn't just that I was lazy and I wanted to change my thread. I wanted to show you guys to really be able to see what it looks like when it's finished. So I'm pretty sure all sewing machines come with a blind hem stitch foot, and the guide that comes with your sewing machine will tell you how to do it. If maybe you bought your sewing machine secondhand and it doesn't have a book, there's a good chance you can Google it and find it. Or if it didn't come with a foot, you can buy one on Amazon. So yeah, this is what it looks like. Again, I probably could have gotten even closer with it, just a little bit closer. And a perfect thread match would make this look really, really clean and really great. So I would recommend trying this out if you're looking for something cool and new to try with your sewing, with your finishing for costumes. Definitely give this a go. Grab some scrap fabric, grab some extra thread you have lying around, and try it out. Practice it out a few times. This definitely Even filming this, you missed my first couple takes where I messed it up. So it's definitely a more challenging thing, especially if you're a novice sewer. But yeah, I like using this technique to do hems, and I think you should give it a try. All right, enough rambling from me. If you want to see any other cosplay tutorials or sewing tutorials, please let us know. We'd be happy to show you guys how to do different things to make your costumes look really cool and awesome. And until next time, we'll talk to you later. Bye, guys.